Gentlemen, and welcome to the second video in regards to the McLaren Senna. And today will be spec day, spec time, because I've decided to divide the chapter 2 model make into overview best specs, and then in the second video we will have the observations, how much the spec is and has impacted the value of the car, and we'll also have a forecast regarding special specs. So let's dive into this and start with, in my opinion, the most valuable, most collectible cars in terms of McLaren Senna is the MP4, the car that the Formula One car that Ayrton Senna drove in the Marlboro livery. So it's called MP4 Marlboro livery. So we have one example here. We have the full carbon body with an example from Chicago Motor Cars, that's chassis 95. Then we have a full gloss carbon body, which we also have an example video here from motor1.com, which is chassis 415. And then we have a MSO unique spec example, chassis 166. So let's get into this and start. So first of all, the so-called MP4 livery. This is a car that we've sold, one of the first cars that have been supplied. September 2018 is the correct day. I think in the last video I said something about 17. Excuse me for that. So September 18 we delivered McLaren Senna chassis 106 in the MP4 livery. So this is a very desirable specification that will hold and has hold value much better compared, you remember that chart here, much better compared to the average or regular spec cars. Then we have that's example 106. Then we have the full carbon body, where we have the matte or mate carbon. Good example here, chassis 95 in that picture. We have we can see that here. In that picture here, that's a matte carbon exposed full carbon body car. You will really see it only on the matte carbon. You can see it here and there. So you can see that carbon body when you get closer to the car. Then in contrast to that, we have the gloss, the so-called shiny carbon. You can see that here. So that's a shiny gloss carbon. Okay.
It's absolutely incredible. Joining a pretty special.
I think you get a good idea. So that's why it's called shiny gloss carbon. And then we also have the MSO, the unique spec with full or gloss carbon. That's a car 166, chassis 166 that we have sold in February 22. So that was one of the highest spec Sennas with one of the highest MSRPs possible to spec. And if you zoom a little closer, you can see that this is Burton Blue, and this is the only car in Burton Blue with exposed carbon, shiny carbon, and a lot of MSO options, as you can see here on the picture. So coming back to the how important is that for the valuation? So we have seen the Marlboro, the MP4 livery, which was also an expensive option and an MSO option. And we have seen the full carbon, which I call matte full carbon. And then we have seen the shiny, the full gloss carbon body with an example. And we have seen one example of MSO unique specs. So I think these are 4 categories of cars that hold their value extremely well. for two reasons. They have been much more. The carbon package has been very expensive. If I remember well, I think it was in the 300,000 euro range, only the carbon body. So this is one reason. So the MSRP has been much, much higher than average car. The other reason is that because there was from the beginning, we'll dive into that in the next video, from the beginning there was much higher demand for MP4 and for gloss and shiny carbon. This has not changed. So if a car sells well below, well above MSRP, then the chances are that it's one of those specs. So this was a short dive into most desirable specs. And tomorrow we continue with the observations of how this most desirable specs, how does it impact the value past, present, and also forecast for the future, and our conclusion. Thank you very much for watching, and talk with you soon. Have a good one.